Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Periscopes from the Kitchen. And today we're talking about community, which is lovely. So first up, come clean. I had I've got lots of things to say about this, obviously, but I just dived in here, and I know what I'm going to say, but I don't know what I'm going to. There'll be a lot of that anyway. So community, and the context I'm talking in today is communities around sort of kind of business communities and communities around causes, not like your local community, but that will inevitably pop up in it. And my point is that people go, oh, I've got thousands of people following me on Twitter, our combined community of 100 gazillion people globally, means that this will be a success, and people everywhere are. A lot of people are worried about this thing. It's really important. And a few stats that I've researched for that long. In the How many people actually vote in an election in the UK? You'd think the Conservatives had the landslide victory of all time when it was one of the crappiest margins ever. And I can't remember the exact percentage. This is the sort of thing I meant to look up, but in a country with like 68 million people in it, not many people voted. It was. I'm gonna have it. If you know, let me know. But it was, something like 20 million people. It was bugger all. And in that country of 67 million people, there's probably, I think there's like 180,000 or 150,000 people who are actually members of the Conservative Party. I don't know what the membership of the Labour Party is now, because that's the election's going on and lots of people have joined. I know for a fact there's 67,000 people in the Green Party, because I'm one of them. And then we go over to how many people you've got following you on social media. So there's a lot of companies who go, I've got 100,000 followers on Twitter, and that's why you should invest in me. And quite often that's the individual. But how many of those people are really engaged? So I've got a few thousand people on Twitter, and I know how many people look at stuff. And it's actually gone down, and that's probably to do with more people being on Twitter, but probably definitely do because I'm just miserable and old and less interesting. But I'm not really connected to I'm not really connected to that many people. So people come and go, we got a lot of people following you on Twitter, or all the other social things. So it's in the fairly respectable thousands, but it's not going to get people to take action or feedback on something. There's all the way along. There's normally a hardcore group of about 20 people who read my blog, retweet me, connect with me, ask questions, and I'm really, really happy with that, because I'd rather have 20 people, and I'm not just being nice. I find it easier to cope and add value. Good morning, Mayor. To a small group of 20 people that I know really, really, really well than I do to 500,000 people. I couldn't be a rock star and be responsible for 1 million people following me on Twitter. So there's that. There's also, I have been involved directly, I'm ashamed to say, in more than one campaign jolly for businesses and charities where they've just disagreed but gone along with it. Just inflated how many people are connected to the cause. So they've added up all the people. They've worked with bigger companies and added up all their followers on Twitter. One person actually added up all their followers on Twitter, all their followers on Facebook, and all their followers on the email lists, and then did this with about 15 companies and put it all together and came up with a worldwide community of millions of people. And we couldn't even get 10 people to turn up for a coffee when we were giving it away in London. So we haven't engaged the community. Someone said to me the other week, he's got whatever thousands it was, and you know, that's what you need, Bernie. It's not, that's not what I need. It's more value to go around a small group of people for me, and then you have to work. I think you have to work harder to engage people. So just sending out a survey is just really lazy. And I'm going to bring that back and talk about in my context is I have people. I've worked in community roles where I've needed to find something out from the same people in the room as me, like in a co-working place, for instance. I needed to get feedback, and I would rather send an email to the people in that place and then hope they filled it in than go around and ask them one by one. Even though, you know, I was on really good terms with all those people, I just found it scary. And, you know, I noticed that places where people get off their arse and go and actually ask people things, that's where the magic happens. So, you know, if you're, I'm not talking about if you're Coca-Cola or Ford, because that's a, you know, a huge operation and a different context. But if you really want to engage with your community, you need to get off your arse and go and ask them stuff. There's a thing at Echo where they, at the end of each, I don't know, this is what I assume actually, so, you know, I always like to be clear. When you go for an Echo workshop in London, which is a time bank, Sarah or Alex hand round a bit of paper at the end and say, can you fill this in? And I sit there and go, well, you know, we could do this online later. But actually asking the questions there prompts a different type of feedback. So I'll actually fill it in because I'm ashamed to hand back a blank bit of paper. And two, I will think of something while I'm doing it and ask the question there. So they'll get more direct feedback. So I think that works. There was another point on this, which was you have to do stuff regularly, and one of the reasons I'm doing this regularly, and I'm finding it's not hard at all, but you know, I'm finding it really hard is coming up, just doing it every day. But what people rely on in your community, you know, in your audience, or you know, people, readers, listeners, followers, is you turning up on a regular basis. So I'm prone every now and then to produce an amazing piece of content, but I know the people I was clearing out my podcasts in my iTunes app yesterday, and there's still something like 12 there, because those people show up on a regular basis. And most of the podcasts I listen to there's a few that are like 10 minutes long, and most of them are about an hour, and I just get loads of really good, juicy, actionable information and stuff that's really interesting from those people. Like my friend John said the other day, I've started to listen to more round table discussion things than you know, people actually telling me how to do stuff. And maybe that's because I'm enrolled in quite a few online courses nowadays. But it's funny how I've gone from I need to find out how to do this to this is what I'm thinking about, you know. Yes, sort of what poking the box, as my mate Seth would say. And then something that's interesting me, which is kind of why I started on this riff today, is how to build connect a community in a way. And we have this with you know, we share in co-working places and in meetups. How to connect a community without telling them what to do. So, mate of ours, Doug Shaw, talks a lot about people who are leaders and managers doing stuff to employees and community members rather than letting them, you know, work it out for themselves. And then there's working it out for yourself, like I can't be asked to do anything, and then there's like playing an active fellowship role or something like that. You know, this is something we do in WeShare, which I find fascinating, amazing, really important, but incredibly painful. We sit around and talk about how something will work out, like how we're going to disperse the budget, which is really exciting stuff. But it as a really long way round, which I think going the long way round in this instance often comes up with the quickest way further, like measure twice, cut once, or whatever it is. So it's very important in building the foundations. And likewise over in I've noticed people on platforms like Udemy and Skillshare that work really hard at getting a community running around, and on in things like the show running podcaster course on Rainmaker that I'm a member of. Those people that work really hard on getting the community to interact have the strongest loyalty and the strongest value, and the value is not just in the information that's available or imparted or the learning. And honestly, I'd say like 80% of people just want to turn up, get the information and piss off, which is fine. But the people that hang around and swap stories, and that's where the magic you can't sell in. So the value is curating that community. And this is something that's coming up in the UK pod movement and the New Media Europe event, which is all the podcasters in Europe, not all of them because there must be millions, but those people. Thank you very much. I can't see, my screen's too dark. Oh my, sorry. The New Media Europe gang is curating that community, and they've kicked that off by doing a podcast every week with people who are speaking, but also people who are attending. So I now know, I need quite a lot of them anyway, but I now know 10 people and what I want to talk to them about that I just never knew in the beginning. So it's going to be past that. And also, did you get up here? How was the traffic? Good, nice, yes. So, what do you listen to? I can go in and say, I heard your podcast about rockstar economics, and really like that professor you had from Columbia University, and this alternative currency thing. And I never would have guessed the guy that's doing this podcast would go to that level of depth about new economics, and also I don't have to get him to explain it to me. Not because I know about economics, because anyone who knows me knows that I'm very uneconomical, but the entry point for the conversation, did a little rap thing there, didn't we? Entry point for the conversation. Anyway, my magic Pomodoro timer down here has told me that I'm 1 minute 30 seconds over time. So thank you very much, Maya. Looking forward to your breaking news later, Maya, and we'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day and take care of each other. Bye! Just got to get rid of this now.